Good afternoon, people of the internet. I decided I would make a video today because it's my day off, or at least the afternoon off. We had school this morning, but off now. And I woke up this morning with just this overwhelming urge just to lay in bed and read all day. That's what I really wanted to do. Unfortunately, that of course did not happen, and I like going to work, I really do. But it just stuck in my head reading all day long. I mentioned books off and on to different people today, and I thought, why not make some recommendations of some books that I think you should read. This applies to everybody. These are books that I've read over the years. Probably the first one I'm going to show you I read when I was, 14 or 15 years old, maybe a little less. But there's some books that are related to or similar to pandemic, virusy type books. And there's just some books on top of that I wanted to share with you. So here's my top 10 of the day, anyway, books on my mind that you should read. And I don't actually have books very much. I read everything on my tablet, or Kindle or whatnot. So I printed off cue cards. Anyway, first one. This is The Hot Zone by Richard Preston. It's about that time that Ebola almost broke out in Washington, D.C. Like, not joking. This really actually happened. That you should read this book. True story. Very true story, and it's very fortunate that the country wasn't wiped out. But you'll have to read it to find out why. Next, continuing on, again, same age range, give or take. The first real novel that Michael Crichton wrote was The Andromeda Strain. Think deadly space virus. And Michael Crichton, he wrote Jurassic Park. Fantastic author. Read. And he's was an actual doctor, and knows a lot about viruses and things. Stephen King, also fantastic author. If you haven't read The Stand or any of the many other Stephen King books out there, they're excellent escapes from reality. They're quick and easy to read, even though they're about 1,000 pages, some of them. But this one is all about biological weapon testing and a virus that could potentially wipe out 99% of the world population. Fantastic book. Now, going back into true story territory here, and this is related to the Industrial Revolution that my 8th grade students were into at the moment. It's called The Ghost Map. It is a historical fiction account of the events of London in 1858 when the Great Stink overwhelmed everything and viruses were spreading like crazy. Tuberculosis and cholera and diphtheria and all these waterborne illnesses because, newsflash, drinking poop water is not healthy for you. So read that for sure. Now, public health things aside for a minute, here are a bigger public health thing, and this came out in 2021. It's a book that everybody should read, especially people in this part of the world, because Hong Kong, city of conspicuous and crazy consumption, and not the most sustainable place in the world. But definitely could learn some lessons from Bill Gates' book this year, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. Causes and effects of climate change and science behind it, politics behind it, and more importantly, what we can all do about it. And it's not one of those holistic things. It's more practical. It's details of how we as a species can achieve this, quote, profoundly important goal. please read that. Next, this is required reading for all my students, I would say. Prisoners of Geography, for DP Geography, anyway, high school level geography, college political science type stuff. 10 maps that explain everything about the world. Trust me on this. You will understand a lot more about global politics or geopolitical conflict or just how we are divided as a species by reading this book. Trust me, it's a very good read. I read this in one night. Speaking of another one I read in a day, my Teacher Deity, if there is such a thing, the one upon which I have two actually. One was my Professor Edward Weisband of Virginia Tech, who was the greatest inspiration to me ever, as far particularly in the way he taught, the delivery he had, the absolute fervent, I don't use this word lightly, passion he had for his subject and what he does. And Hans Rosling. Unfortunately, he passed a few years ago. He founded the Gapminder Foundation, which examines all the data behind public health. Birth rates, death rates, fertility rates, all the population dynamics. Everything that I teach and hold dear, because in the end, everything about geography, which is not what you think it is, it's about data. This factfulness, or 10 reasons you're wrong about the world and why it's not, why it's way better than you think it is. It's actually, even though it came out a year before COVID, it's a reason to be optimistic about the growth of humanity and how far we've come and how we've eliminated so many of the things that eliminated us. Definite read of all ages, please. Moving on, so three of my other favorite recently read books. If you've not seen this, Sapiens, but Sapiens has a graphic novel version, so it's actually a comic book. It was a book, but now they've made it into an illustrated book, and it explains the history of humanity. A graphic history of everything people. How we were so many different species of similarly closely related human-like things until only one species, us, emerged, and how humankind came to being. This is volume 1. There will be a volume 2, and so on and so forth. That came out last year. Next one, what a great one for you. And this is something to, if you really just want to understand how things work, it is called The Thing Explainer. And I actually printed the list for this one. It teaches you all about stuff like food heating radio boxes, microwaves, tall roads, bridges, computer buildings, data centers, the shared space house, the International Space Station, the other worlds around the sun, or the solar system, big flat rocks we live on, tectonic plates, the pieces of everything is made of, the periodic table, planes with turning wings, helicopters, boxes that make clothes smell better, washers and dryers, and my very favorite, the bags of stuff inside you, cells. Read this. It's hilarious. It's great. Last one, and this one's more reserved for maybe students of either A, you're interested in American history, or B, you plan to live there at some point, maybe for college or whatnot, or you just want a really interesting glimpse into America. Love this book. Lies My Teacher Told Me. trust me on this. Everything you think you know about American history is probably not 100% accurate, certainly by textbook standards. So you might want to have an additional glance at that. Anyway, there's my, I think that was 10 books. 10 books that I hope you will read. I can link them to Amazon. You just open up Amazon and type out the names of the books. I will link them in the comments. I guess my big point is, when I was much younger, I read a lot more. And I still do. It's a habit that I still have. The message I get from people today, whether it be friends, colleagues, pupils, whatever, not as much reading is going on as should be. So on a regular basis, I will take you on a journey through whatever I'm reading, or books that I have read, or books that mean something to me. I've got a whole list of fiction novels, my favorite books of all time for you. I'll have a lot coming. And maybe, just maybe, I'll start doing this with film also. And I'll explain later what I mean by film. There are movies, stuff blowing up and no plot line, or weak one. And then there are films, crafted works of art by great directors. But we'll save that for another day. In the meantime, if you have these books or see them in a bookstore, you have them lying around, and you just never got around to it, read. I have a nice little holiday, and that's what I'm going to be spending my time, what little of it I have, doing. So, until then, take care and have a great day.